Tired of scientific jargon? Get the facts without the friction. This is Weekly Digested Science, where we translate the world's most significant peer-reviewed research into your weekly news update. For a trustworthy source of knowledge, hit like and subscribe.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going on a pretty fascinating trip, I think. We're going far beyond the usual headlines and right into what might be the most unexpected control center for your mood.
Your gut.
Your gut, exactly. We're going to be unpacking this incredibly complex dynamic. I mean, it's a truly two-way relationship that links the food you eat, the microbes inside you, and your actual mental state.
That's right. Our mission today is really to dig into the sources that illuminate this critical communication network. Researchers call it the gut-brain microbiota axis, or GBA for short.
GBA, right.
And we're really honing in on how this link influences things like anxiety and especially depression. We so often focus on genetics or environment, but the data now makes it clear. The composition of those tiny organisms in your gut is a major, major factor.
And the urgency here is it's huge. I was looking at the numbers. Depression affects something like 5% of the global adult population.
And that's just what's diagnosed.
Exactly. It's never just one thing, of course, but the idea that these microbes, which we barely even think about, might be dictating our capacity for joy or despair, that's revolutionary. It really redefines mental health, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And to even start to understand it, we have to talk about communication, the constant, the crosstalk between the gut and the brain.
That's the part that I think everyone can feel, right? That direct physical sensation.
Precisely. A big part of that is the vagus nerve. Think of it as a massive direct data cable running from your brainstem right down to your abdomen.
That's the gut-wrenching feeling when you get bad news.
That's exactly it. But it's more than just a nerve highway. It's also chemical signals, hormones, immune pathways. Essentially, your diet dictates the chemical messages your gut sends up to your brain. Your emotional landscape is, in a way, tied directly to your digestion.
Okay, let's unpack that. The goal is a healthy gut microbiome. We hear these words like balance, ecosystem, but what does a healthy gut actually do for us, chemically speaking?
Right, so that healthy state is called eubiosis. And in that state, the beneficial anti-inflammatory microbes are thriving. We're talking about species like bifidobacterium and lactobacillus.
The friendly ones.
The friendly ones. Their main job is to process the complex fibrous foods that we can't digest ourselves. And in return, they produce these incredibly useful metabolic products.
And these products are the key, right? I think I remember these are the short-chain fatty acids.
Spot on. Short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, they are absolutely essential signaling molecules, things like butyrate, propionate. They are vital.
And what's their main function?
They are profoundly anti-inflammatory, and they regulate the immune system, so they're actively calming the whole system down.
Just calming it down.
Exactly. And butyrate is sort of the hero here. It does more than just manage inflammation. It maintains the integrity of your gut lining. Think of that lining as a critical security barrier between what you just ate and your bloodstream. Butyrate patches and strengthens that wall.
So if eubiosis is balance, when the system breaks down, what we call dysbiosis, that gut wall starts getting holes. Is that the leaky gut concept we hear about?
That's the direct consequence. In patients with depression, we often see an overgrowth of, let's call them the pro-inflammatory microbes, the bad actors. And yes, this increased permeability means that harmful things, like bacterial components called LPS, can escape the gut and get into your circulation.
And once those inflammatory agents are in the bloodstream, what happens when they get to the brain?
That's the critical question. When your body is just bathed in these chronic, low-grade inflammatory signals from the gut, it disrupts what we call brain homeostasis. It throws the whole neural system into a kind of chemical chaos.
It's like a low-level fire in your central nervous system.
A perfect analogy. And that constant irritation starves the brain of support. The sources show it alters key neurotransmitters and, importantly, reduces neurotrophins like BDNF.
BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I always think of it as like fertilizer for brain cells.
That is the perfect way to think of it. It helps them grow, connect, and repair. A bad gut environment is essentially telling your brain to stop using the fertilizer.
Which brings us right to diet. If our microbes are the chemical factories, and they only produce these mood-regulating chemicals based on what we feed them, then our diet is the biggest lever we have.
It absolutely is. You can see the two extremes so clearly in the data. On one end, you have the standard Western diet.
Low fiber, high in processed foods, red meat, saturated fats.
Right. And that diet is just a hostile takeover of the microbial ecosystem. The data shows it crushes microbial diversity. It encourages harmful bacteria to grow and creates systemic inflammation and oxidative stress.
So my Friday night takeout is kind of chemically lobbying my brain to feel worse.
That's not a bad way to put it. You're basically starving out the beneficial microbes that need fiber to survive.
And on the other end of the spectrum, the gold standard seems to always be the Mediterranean diet.
It is, and for good reason. The Mediterranean diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, olive oil. Study after study shows a strong inverse correlation with depression. Adhering to it dramatically increases those beneficial bacteria we mentioned.
Because all that fiber and the polyphenols in those foods act like rocket fuel for them.
Exactly. It turbocharges the production of those good SCFAs, which lowers inflammation everywhere. We can even get specific. The olive oil contains anti-inflammatory polyphenols. The fish and vegetable oils provide N3-PUFAs.
And those also lower inflammation. And they upregulate that BDNF, that brain fertilizer.
Yes, it's a systemic mood boost that's literally built into the eating pattern.
Now, briefly, the sources also touched on a much more restrictive diet, the ketogenic diet. Why is that even in the conversation for mood?
So the keto diet, or KD, was first developed for epilepsy. But the theory is that in some individuals with depression, the brain might struggle to use glucose for energy efficiently. KD provides ketones as an alternative fuel source.
So it's like a metabolic workaround.
It is. It may also increase the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA, which can calm neural activity, and it reduces inflammation. But, and this is a big but, it's a very difficult regimen to stick with.
Not a general recommendation, then.
Far from it. It's a specialized tool.
Okay, so moving from these big patterns to more targeted tools, what if a perfect diet is just too hard? What about supplements?
That's where we get into psychobiotics. This is a term for live bacteria probiotics that are used specifically for mental health benefits.
So we're moving beyond just gut health to actual mood modulation.
Exactly. And we have clinical trials now. Specific strains, like Lactoplantobacillus plantarum, have shown measurable improvements in depressive behaviors. The research shows why they work, they restore balance, and regulate pathways involved in making neurotransmitters.
But the really cutting-edge stuff is more radical, fecal microbiota transplantation, FMT.
It's a dramatic way to hit the reset button, yes. Transferring fecal flora from a healthy donor.
The fastest way to reshape the whole gut community.
It is. And while it's still highly experimental for mood disorders, the early evidence is compelling. The sources had this one case report of a 79-year-old woman. She received an FMT from her 6-year-old great-grandson.
Wow.
And the result was a measurable drop in her depression and anxiety, and a big increase in her microbial diversity. It just shows how foundational that ecosystem is.
And here's a twist I found really interesting. It turns out standard antidepressants might be working through the gut, too.
It's that two-way street again. Drugs like SSRIs are not inert in the gut. The sources show they have antimicrobial effects.
So the drug you take for your mood is actually altering your gut microbes.
It is. And conversely, the state of your gut can influence how effective that drug is for you. It adds a whole new layer to personalized medicine.
Okay, let's get super practical for a minute. Based on the studies, like that Korean one, what are the specific daily foods that were linked to lower odds of depression? What can you actually put on your plate?
The top ones were milk, eggs, bananas, oranges, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, and kimchi.
And they all contain these potent beneficial compounds. Let's pull out a couple. Milk and eggs seem sort of obvious. They're protein.
They are, and they're rich in tryptophan, the precursor to serotonin, and also things like B vitamins and folate, all essential for making those neurotransmitters.
But the orange finding, that's where it gets really interesting on a molecular level.
It's incredible. Oranges have a flavonoid called hesperidin. And what the analysis showed is that hesperidin has a strong inhibitory effect on an enzyme called monoamine oxidase, or MAO.
And MAO is what breaks down neurotransmitters like serotonin. So inhibiting it is what a whole class of antidepressant drugs do.
Exactly. So a compound naturally found in a piece of fruit appears to mimic the action of a major pharmaceutical drug, keeping more of those feel-good chemicals circulating in your brain.
That's a powerful claim.
It is. We also saw that mushrooms provide a powerful antioxidant called ergothioneine, and low intake correlated with higher depression. And kimchi, of course, is full of probiotics like lactobacillus. It all comes full circle.
It really does. Now, for our final section, let's talk about perhaps the most profound link of all, the connection between mental health, the gut, and the heart.
This research is it's game-changing because it forces us to look beyond mood. Studies found that chronic social stress, which induces depression, didn't just affect the mind. It significantly worsened cardiac injury after a heart attack. It impaired heart function and hindered long-term survival.
So we knew depression was bad for the heart, but this is saying it makes the physical injury itself worse. What's the link? What's the middleman connecting the stress to the heart tissue?
The gut microbiota. Researchers found that depression altered the gut microbes, which then impaired how they metabolize the amino acid tryptophan. This caused a critical drop in a protective gut metabolite called indole-3 propionic acid, or IPA.
And we can only get this IPA from our microbes. We can't just eat it.
That is the crucial detail. IPA is derived solely from dietary tryptophan by our gut microbes. So when stress causes dysbiosis, IPA production plummets. And it turns out IPA is a powerful protective agent for heart muscle cells.
So when IPA levels drop, the heart loses its microbial shield. What happened when they put it back?
When they supplemented with IPA, it significantly rescued cardiac function in the stressed subjects. It improved the heart's pumping ability and reduced the physical damage.
That's profound. So a microbial byproduct is a key mechanism linking depression to progression of severe heart problems.
The gut's influence is truly systemic. It goes far beyond mood.
This deep dive has made one thing overwhelmingly clear: the interconnectedness of diet, our gut, our mental health. This is truly metabolic psychiatry.
It really is. And it underlines the power of choice. While depression is, of course, multifactorial, the data powerfully supports using diet and microbial interventions as incredibly promising adjunctive therapies. They reduce inflammation, they can enhance standard treatments.
Makes a balanced, nutritious diet feel less like an option and more like a foundation.
It is the foundation for both mental and physical well-being.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is just the quiet power of these invisible chemists inside us. I mean, if a tiny microbial metabolite like IPA can determine not just our mood, but the actual fate of our heart during a cardiac event, how much of what we call mental health is fundamentally decided not in our mind, but in the metabolism of the food we choose to eat?
That's definitely something to chew on.
Under the canopy where shadows play, crickets sing secrets at the edge of day. A bird calls sharp like a question in the